Hello everybody, today I'm going to share with you my iMac G4 from 2002. The iMac G4 was produced directly after the iMac G3, which brought its stunning, new, interesting design. This particular model is the highest configuration produced at the time, containing a PowerPC G4 processor, running at 800 MHz, a 60GB hard drive, half a gigabyte of RAM, a 15-inch 1024 by 768 resolution screen, with 32 megabytes of video RAM, a SuperDrive, and airport wireless through adding the airport card to the bottom of the machine. This model, being one of the higher tiered models of the time, came with the matching Pro speakers as well. Now I don't remember if they were actually called Pro speakers for this iMac, but similar speakers were also produced for the PowerMac G4 that were called Pro speakers. Anyway, that aside, let's go ahead and take a look around the machine. In the bottom left-hand corner of the screen we can find our built-in microphone. In the middle we can find our iMac logo, which changed over time. The newer iMac G4s have a different font. And we can find our sleep-wake light indicator. At the top middle of the machine we will find ventilation for the built-in fan, as well as where the arm for the screen is mounted. Moving down we can see our Apple logo, and below that we can see a door here, which is for the built-in SuperDrive. On the back of the screen we can find another shiny Apple logo. Below that, in the middle of the screen, we can start to see the mounting arm here, which goes in almost every direction. And we'll see a demonstration of that in a minute. Working our way down, we will eventually find the ports. Curving around the back of the machine, we will find our ports, going from left to right. First, we have our Kensington lock port, our headphone audio out, the specialty speaker port for the Pro speakers, 2 FireWire 400 ports, an Ethernet port, our power port, modem port, 3 USB, I believe, 1.1 ports, and mini VGA out, along with our power button. So let's go ahead and have a little hands-on demonstration of the screen here. Of course it can move anywhere you want it to move, whether that be left or right. You can hunker down into a typed paper and not see anything behind it. You can lift it up. You can of course turn it. And even though the wall is there, it still only goes 180. But you can still go at any angle you'd like, which is very unique to this day. Let's go ahead and take a look at the speakers as well. Here we can see the special port that Apple made for these speakers, which provides power and audio. Moving up we can find the splitter, which definitely says Pro speakers, and it tells you what speaker is for the left and right. Moving our way down the wire we eventually get to one of the speakers themselves. As you can see, they're very unique. They're pretty heavy duty because of how much plastic is there, and they actually sound really good. I really like these speakers. Now, there is a little difference between these and the other Pro speakers for the PowerMac G4. The PowerMac G4 has protective covers over the speakers and also has black fabric instead of white rubber. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn it on. There you can get a little bit of the sound of the Pro speakers, as I have them connected even though you can't see them. This iMac G4 is running 10.4.11 Tiger, as that is the highest operating system it can run, since it has a 800 MHz processor. It boots up decently quick, which is pretty nice. And of course, the airport card inside this thing is just too old to work with any modern wireless, so I have, yet again, a wireless dongle on the back. So we'll get out of that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the specs of this computer. As previously mentioned, it is running 10.4.11 Tiger. It is at 800 MHz PowerPC G4 with half a gig of RAM. So, how well does the iMac G4 hold up in 2016? Well, you can't really do too much on the internet anymore other than basic websites, and YouTube is totally out of the question unless you just like listening to the audio of your video and not getting any real video visuals. But anyway, let's go ahead and start with the internet, because as with all the Macs, the Finder always works and finds your files. It's you know, just like Windows Explorer. So let's go ahead and start with Safari. We'll go ahead and check what version we have here. We can see it looks like it loaded directly up to Apple's website. Go to About Safari. Okay, so this stopped support in 2010. See, this is version 4. And we can see it's going through the different slides here on the Apple website. Okay, there's a little bit of jittering between them, but it seems to be just fine, and we can scroll just like normal. See if we can get it scrolling while it changes there. Let's go to one of the lighting sites. Okay, go to gallery here. So you can see how just a basic web page runs, and there's not too much here, so it runs pretty well. You can see a little bit of jittering while we're scrolling, but I'm scrolling pretty fast. If we go a little slower, it's a lot better, and it loads the images pretty quickly, which is nice. There's no delay in that. Like I said, something like YouTube is just kind of out of the question, but we'll go ahead and go to the YouTube website anyway. Here, of course, it tells you that it's no longer supported, but you can just hit no thanks or the YouTube logo and get to YouTube here. But I'm not even going to try to play anything, as it's only audio, basically. You won't see very many visuals other than probably the first frame of the video. So now I got it thinking. But at least you can see truly how this thing works in 2016. So eventually we'll get it to quit here. There we go. So let's go ahead and move over to our friend at 10.4 Fox, which is optimized for the PowerPC platform. Just a little side note, if you see on the screen here, there's like some discoloration and maybe a couple marks up here. When I got this computer, it had some of those problems. You can maybe see some of that. It doesn't show up very well on white, but you can see the little marks up here. And because of that, I got this computer for a pretty decent price. So that's kind of a sad thing that there's little marks on the screen, but that's okay. We can look past that and see everything just fine. So here we have 10.4 Fox, which is all the way up to date currently. Go ahead and take a look at that. It's not up to date with the same version as Firefox because, you know, it takes them a while to optimize it and everything. And that's just fine because this thing really works. It works very well. Let's go ahead and go to Apple's website, if I can get my keyboard here. So we can see how well that works on this web browser. Because nowadays people use their web browsers for almost everything. So it's pretty important. And we can see here the Apple homepage here. It looks like it takes Might take a little bit to get stabilized and go between the slides, but it looks like it's doing it. I think Safari did a little bit better, but I mean, that is Apple's web browser anyway, so they probably would try to make it work better on that. But I do notice that more websites load quicker and are a lot more reliable on 10.4 Fox anyway. Let's go ahead and go to one of the lighting sites. And here we can see that it loaded all the images. We'll scroll really fast to see if it can catch up, and it did. I didn't see any images loading, so it loaded them pretty quickly. And that's good. We'll scroll at the scroll wheel here instead of using the sidebar. Yeah, everything loads just fine. A little bit jittering, but what do you expect from a computer from 2002? I think it's pretty neat that it's actually doing this well. And again, YouTube is the same story on here, so I'm not even going to really show it. It works a little bit better, but it's still the same thing. You mostly hear the audio and only see the first frame of the video, and that's basically it. So of course we have iTunes, which is always iTunes, and next to that we have Word and Excel. Now on this machine I have Microsoft Office version 2004 and 2008. As I've stated in other videos, 2008 brought the for example, for Word, it brought the X at the end of everything, such as instead of doc in 2004 version, it's now doc with the X at the end, DOCX. And that is still used, that extension is still used to this very day. So I consider it up to date because of that fact. It's not the old DOC, it's the new DOCX, which brings a lot of extra things and compatibility with some of the newer versions, such as Office for Mac 2016. So let's go ahead and look at Word 2008. Of course, with Office 2008 for Mac, you get Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and I think Exchange or something with an E. And it takes a little while to get going, but once it's up and running, it works just fine, as it is just a word processor. And it's still thinking a little bit. I usually wait until the cursor is blinking steadily, and then I know that it's everything has been loaded. Let's see. Okay, now it's blinking steadily, so everything is now fully loaded and ready to go. So there's Word 2008 for Mac. We'll get out of there and head right on over to Excel, and we'll see how fast that loads for us. And there we go. As I've stated in other videos, if you don't like the way that Office for Mac puts Excel like this, like in a printer view, you can go ahead down here and change it over to the normal sheet that you'd see on the Windows version. And this loads a lot quicker than Word. I don't know why, it just does. So there we got Excel 2008. Of course there's PowerPoint and all that extra stuff as well. I leave QuickTime Player down here, as I use that sometimes for just audio when I don't want to use iTunes. I'll also use VLC Player as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at Adobe Photoshop. This is Adobe Photoshop CS2. Even though it's an older version of Photoshop, you can still do many things. There's so much to do in Photoshop, even of the versions today, that it'd probably take forever to learn it all. And there we go. Apparently I haven't opened this too often, as I didn't uncheck this startup box here. So there we go, Photoshop is up and running. Now we'll get out of there. Down here, of course, we have applications, which I don't think that folder's down there. I think I put that down there. But anyway, you can see some of the examples of the applications I have here. Let's go and make them a little bit bigger so you can see them easier. Mac tubes used to be a fantastic application for the PowerPC G4 platform, but unfortunately after YouTube changed how their videos run or their API or something like that, this does not work or function anymore. And you can see all the different applications. Here you can see Office 2004. You can see Office 2008 here kind of cut off the screen. There's all kinds of stuff you can still run. VLC player is still very nice to run on this machine. So there's some basic applications, but there's plenty of fun things you can still do with a machine like this. One of the things that I use this machine for the most is just playing audio, because the speakers sound fantastic for a computer like this. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this look at my iMac G4 and how well it holds up in 2016. Also, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and as always, thank you very much for watching.